Hello, everyone, and welcome inside another edition of In the Hot Seat. And of course, today I have, should I say royalty with me? Well, if I want to, I can. I have royalty with me today. And I'm talking to none other than candidate number 8 on the National Alliance slate. I'm talking about Mr. Richard Gibson. Richard Gibson, welcome to the program.
Good to be here. And I too feel I'm in the presence of royalty.
Well, at least we feel so for each other. That's a good thing. Okay, Richard, let's start off with In the Hot Seat. It's a program where we bring all the candidates from the National Alliance slate to tell us more about yourselves. And of course, you tell us what are your campaign strategies, what you want to do to be elected as a parliamentarian. But before doing so, I would like to ask, who is Richard Gibson? Let the people know, who is Richard Gibson?
Well, I think that I've been involved in so many things on St. Martin for so many years that, with the exception probably of the younger folks, I think everybody know who I am. But Richard Gibson is born in Aruba. Okay. I came here in 1969.
Wow,
in Aruba. Pardon me?
The year I was born.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Look at that. In Aruba, I lived in the village. In the village, they had a conclave of Windward Islanders where I lived. And the village in those days is not the village in Aruba that you find today. Okay. In those days, it was sand roads, outhouses, which from time to time exploded because of the gas buildup.
Right.
We were all poor, but nobody felt poor. Because everybody was in the same condition, you know.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful time of growing up in the village. It really was. You didn't miss anything because, for instance, going on vacation once or twice a year is unheard of.
Right.
Or even going to a doctor to get medical care and what have you. My mother, because after the village we moved to Brazil, which is just a little bit ways down the road. Whenever you got sick, her formula was, we'll just go in the bushes and pick aloes. You got a cold, you get aloes. Yeah. You have a sprained ankle, you get aloes. You have a fever, you get aloes. Whatever there's aloes, because nobody could afford to go to a doctor in those days. Healthcare was not what we know it today.
And it worked.
It certainly did. So when I got my degree as a lawyer, I moved to St. Martin. In those days, there were 5,000 people on the island. It wasn't like what it is today. And when I came here, I felt completely at home because most of my schoolmates and people I grew up with, they were all here.
Right.
So I felt quite at home, and I started practicing law here and practice law now for like 45 years. I've been practicing law. And I've also been very, very socially active. In fact, if you go and take the JCs, I'm a founding member of the JCs.
Okay, that's right.
You take the Rotary Club of St. Martin, I'm a founding member of the Rotary Club of St. Martin. You take the Red Cross of St. Martin, I'm a founding member of the Red Cross of St. Martin. So I had the ability to do these things and create these things and get them going. And as far as the Rotary Club is concerned, I'm the last remaining founder of the Rotary Club. But I also did other things such as people will remember the Olympiad on St. Martin. For over 11 years, every year on St. Martin Day, we organized a huge sports activity on the island. The whole island came out to see it. And that was very hard work. But it kept people active, it kept people involved, and kept people into the sports. And it was appreciated by many, many people. I've taught at the university also as a teacher here in St. Martin. I mean, there's so many things that I've done, including being a minister, which again, the National Alliance, Mr. William Marland, selected me to deal with the constitutional problem that we're experiencing then. St. Martin wanted out of the Netherlands Antilles. And they were talking about the dysfunctioning of the Netherlands Antilles for over 25 years. And nobody could solve it. He thought I could. He thought I would be the right man in the right place. And he appointed me as Minister of Constitutional Affairs in the Netherlands Antilles and Minister of Internal Affairs. And indeed, although that government didn't last long, it lasted about 3 months, and then the Democratic Party approached me to continue the work I was doing because I guess they felt that I was doing a good job. And lo and behold, I broke that grip that they had on us. And after 25 years of talk back and forth about stepping out in the Netherlands Antilles, we then formed the foundation and reached an understanding that St. Martin will leave the Netherlands Antilles. And so we got eventually 10-10-10. At that time, I was also involved as an advisor to the government throughout the negotiations with Holland. You got to imagine, we created basically 6 new countries. We created the country Curacao, the country St. Martin, and also Saba, St. Eustatia, whatever. So it was, from a constitutional point of view, a nightmare, because each one of these countries had to start anew. And to go right into the issues that we have today, they all stem back to 10-10-10. Because lo and behold, what happened then was the St. Martin was left with a structure without the people to support that structure. For years, all of the people who ran the Netherlands Antilles were all based in Curacao, running the country Netherlands Antilles. St. Martin had no experience in running a country. But 10-10-10 came, and we were confronted with that. And we needed to put institutions in place, man those institutions as well as government, but you had to do it with people who are capable, competent,
Who can do the
and
job.
those people we did not have. And we've been struggling ever since, from then to now, because of the lack of human resources to support the governmental apparatus and to support our economy. And that is an area that we have to do something about. And as you know, recently I installed a committee as Minister of Finance of St. Martin to study the possibility of starting a law school on St. Martin. Now, why did I do that? I do that because I had precedents. Many years ago, when nobody thought about it, as a citizen, I was not in government, I was instrumental in getting the university in Curacao to start a branch on St. Martin to start to train people in St. Martin to become lawyers.
Okay.
And today, the people who succeeded from that program, and that's why you could see its value and how important it is. From that program I started then. Today we have one of them who is the Deputy Governor of St. Martin, Mr. Groeneveld.
Yes.
We have the Ombudsman, Neil Arduin. We have Mr. Gaston Bell, who's a lawyer practicing by a local law firm. We have the Vice President of the Council of Advice, Ms. Mavis Brooks.
Yes.
All of those people will participate in that program, and this was the result. It's unfortunate that the program was stopped. Had it not stopped, we wouldn't have 4 or 5 people occupying these prominent positions in our community, in institutions that are so direly needed in this country.
Yes.
We would have a multiple of those people if I go back 20 years. And if we had produced those in, let's say, 5 years, well, 25 years later, you probably would have been able to produce 25 of such people.
Right.
I say that to show how vision, how looking forward, how taking the right steps. Because if we did not have those people, who we'd have in these positions today? Taking that in consideration, I formed a committee, and guess who I picked to be in the committee? Those same people who succeeded from that program. Because who would know better?
Exactly.
And those people came with a report together with the head of the University of St. Martin, and presented the report as well as the cost picture for the Law School of St. Martin, and I am hopeful in the 2017 budget to allocate 1 million guilders for the startup of this law school, because I see this law school as an important tool to provide us with the human resources that we're going to need in future. In 4, 5 years, 6 years, you will start producing lawyers, and it's not only the law school and lawyers. If you have an institution like this, and I'm going to propose and suggest it be done in the university itself, you're going to have, by planting this seed, you're going to lift all boats, because it will have a spin-off. You'll be giving people who didn't make it a second chance. You'll be giving younger people who don't have to go away to study law, but they can stay right here and study law. You'll be able to create economic activity around this particular program. You're going to have to hire teachers, hire people who will come in, who will rent hotel rooms, who would rent cars. So you have an economic spin-off from it. But you will also have the ability that others could follow courses, not necessarily an entire lawyer's course at the end you become a lawyer, but on certain topics. Civil servants and others could go there and take a short course, a quick course, and enhance their skills. And those skills, I'm sure, we can either use in the government apparatus or use in the private sector.
Let me ask you something. The process to continue this and bring it to fruition, would that be realized even though, or let's say, the National Alliance is not elected into government in the September 26 elections? Would it be able to have continuance to get it on the ground, off the ground?
Well, that's a difficult thing to predict, because you don't know who is going to come and whether or not they're going to have the same motivation and the same drive to make these things succeed as I have.
Okay.
You need somebody who's dedicated, somebody who believes in it, somebody who will push it. Because like I told you, I've already got the Council of Ministers' consent and agreement. Then in the 2017 budget, we're going to allocate 1 million guilders. 1 million guilders is not enough. But separate from that, I have also managed to contact in the private sector and gotten commitments from people to make donations to the law school, so that within short, I think probably before the middle of next year, if this drive comes true, we would have sufficient funds to start this thing up, and I think this would be a great thing for St. Martin.
Okay, you went into your opening where I asked, who is Richard Gibson? You went into so much already, but I want to come back now to ask you, have you been involved in politics before being Minister of Constitutional Affairs?
Well, I did mention in that brief little explanation I given that Mr. William Marlin from the National Alliance, who was also frustrated with the Netherlands Antilles as such. You know, all of the monies stayed in Curacao. There were no development on St. Martin. It was a time when we only had one police car for the police department. All federal government departments were understaffed, undermanned, under-equipped. And we were paying our fair share, because the monies we were contributing to the Netherlands Antilles was more than enough to support the deficits from Bonaire, Saba, Statia, all together, plus have some left
remaining
over for the treasury of the federal government. So I mentioned that William Marlin and most people here, because we went to a referendum, which, by the way, I was president of the referendum committee when that happened, and approximately 60 people voted in favor of stepping out of the Netherlands Antilles. And William Marlin, when he got in the federal government, asked me if I would take the position as Minister of Constitutional Affairs with the specific goal of taking St. Martin out of the Netherlands Antilles. And I just explained to you that led up to 10-10-10,
Yes.
because for 25 years they were trying and they could not succeed. So yes, I've held that position. I have held a position in government before as minister, and that was the occasion when I did.
Is it fair for me to call you Mr. Problem Solver when it comes to government affairs?
Well, I don't want to walk around preaching that I am the problem solver and all problems I will solve, because that too will put a burden.
But so far
and
you've
create-
handled all, I would say, looking at your resume, hearing what you're saying.
and create expectations. I think that I have ideas, I have a vision, I work hard, I have a social conscience, and I believe in what I'm doing. So if you want to call that a problem solver, fine, but I prefer to call it someone who is dedicated, who wants to see St. Martin progress, wants to see the living conditions of people here improved, and it can be done, and it takes certain steps that have to be taken. We cannot go back to what we had before.
Right.
That way of doing things is passé. We need to have a different vision. It's a new world. We have new challenges. We have new problems that we have to solve, and you cannot solve them with the same concept and the same things you were doing before. We cannot go back. We need to go forward, and to go forward, you have to pursue ideas and you have to pursue solutions that weren't tried before.
I read an article in the newspaper today where it says, and I quote, they said that flat taxes and indirect taxes are a big no-no for St. Martin. Richard Gibson, Minister of Finance, said that. Tell us more about it.
Let's think about it, okay? I think that the ideas that have been launched by some people on the island is, let us go to a flat tax. A flat tax would mean, look, everybody will pay, let's say, 15% taxes. There are no brackets, there are no distinction.
class, yeah.
Everybody pays it. That's a flat tax. When you impose a flat tax on somebody who's making 2,500 guilders, and the guy who is making 50,000 guilders have to pay the same flat
thing,
tax,
yeah.
it is unfair. The progressive system which we have is based on those who can, those who make more must help those who are less fortunate.
I agree.
When you put in a flat tax, what you're doing, because the people now who makes, let's say, 100,000 guilders a year, 200,000 guilders a year, they fall in a tax bracket that's 55%. So 55% of what they earn is paid in taxes, almost half.
Right.
When you go to somebody making 2,500 guilders, they pay probably a couple of hundred guilders in taxes per month. Now here's what you're doing. The guy who's making 100, 200,000 guilders and paying 50% of his earnings now, you telling him, no, you're only going to pay 15%? Like the person who's making 2,500 guilders. So he is getting a big tax break,
Yes.
a tax reduction. Now why would you give the rich or those who are better off such a big tax break? It's like what Donald Trump wanted to do in the United States, right? And put the same burden, as far as taxes are concerned, the same weight on the guy who's making, because proportionately it's the same weight on the guy who's making 2,500 guilders, the same weight as the guy who's making 200,000 guilders. If you're making 200,000 guilders, you need to pay progressively more.
Right.
You see? The same thing holds good for indirect taxes. It's the same thing. Indirect taxes, yes, is fine, but you cannot eliminate income and profit taxes, because if you do, then those guys who are making that kind of money, you give,
Yeah.
and then you will see that you will not be able to generate enough money only from that flat tax or the indirect tax you're talking about to be able to pay all your expenses, to pay school, to pay salaries of government, to fix the road, to pay sickness and accident when that comes up. You will simply have to cut on services because the amount of money that you're going to be producing in revenues would be totally insufficient.
Do you think our people need to be educated more on this tax topic that we are discussing now?
Of course, everybody, I mean, every day I learn something. Every day I try to educate myself. I cannot pretend that I know it all, and nobody should. There are certain things that you need to explain to people because they don't understand it. Yes, from that point of view, I agree totally with you that this needs to be explained. Even those who are saying, let's go to a flat tax or let's go to indirect taxes and do it, they too need to be
explained.
They don't need to be educated, you know?
Right. So how about probably having a tax symposium or something where we can have like town hall meetings maybe, where the Minister of Finance can educate the public a little more on that.
Well,
what do you think about that?
Well, I think it just so happens that on September 1st,
okay,
I am going to have a town hall meeting at a university.
Okay.
And the topic is going to be inequality and demand. It is a topic that I had promised that I would come and inform the public about. It has to do with a visit I made to the United Nations ICLAC meeting somewhere around May, June. I went to that with when I had broken my knee or broken my kneecap.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to that with
the braces.
Yeah, on the plane and what have you, but I went and I got it done.
Because you're a hard worker, right?
And the information I gathered there was amazing. It really is. You know, we live on a small island. It's a little dot in the whole world. And we need to find out world trends, what's going on around us. Because only by knowing that you will know, have a chance what you need to do.
Exactly.
If you do not know that and you don't keep
abreast of what's happening,
then you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do the wrong things, as we are doing, by the way.
Right.
You know, so I hope to have that. So that's going to be my topic, not necessarily taxes, but I surely probably would make use of the opportunity to say something about this.
Okay. Well, we see the CFT. They said that they were really happy of St. Martin balancing their budget, and it hasn't happened since 10-10-10, right? Am I correct? How do you feel about that being the Minister of Finance?
Well, of course I've got to feel good. Of course I've got to feel.
What does it mean for St. Martin people?
It means a lot. What they said was St. Martin has turned the corner with balancing the budget. And the foundation that we put in place, multi-annual, because when you balance the budget, you're not balancing it only for 2017, you know, or for 1 year. You're balancing it for multiple years, 5 years hence. So you have a foundation, a guide that you will stay with going through those 5 years. And that's what they meant by us succeeding in balancing the budget, that we have turned the corner and balanced or projected that 5-year budget, that it seems that we are on the right path, and that we will be financially healthy, not this Wild West way of approaching things. And what it means for St. Martin is stability, financial stability. We inherited a financial mess from what was left behind last year. In a couple of months, we were able to turn the tide and since then guide it to create stability. And if we succeed, which I hope I will, to also present to the Council of Ministers next week a balanced budget for 2017, it will be a historic thing because one, it will be done on time, according to the law, and again, it will be the second budget that we balance. That opens the door for new capital investments that St. Martin, and that's millions, can carry out in 2017. That then brings about more economic activity, more GDP contribution, and economic growth and GDP growth trickles down to everybody. Everybody, one way or the other, would benefit from that kind of economic activity caused by balancing the budget, caused by the capital expenditures that you then will be able to attract or invest in. Like we're doing now, let's take the government building that the Prime Minister is saying he's going to occupy soon. There's investments there. There are materials being bought from somebody to get that going. There are workmen there who get salaries. Their salaries then pay taxes. You have a whole conglomerate of activities only from that one investment. Investments are the things that we lack most. And the more investments we can get, the more activities, the more sounder and healthier your economy will become. And we're on that track. And if we pursue that same path without interruption, I think St. Martin is looking forward to a bright future.
Mr. Gibson, would you say you've brought along a fresh approach to governance in St. Martin?
Well, some people would not call it that. Some people would call it and say he's too strict. It's been told to me.
And that's how you get things done.
And I asked them, well, what did it mean I'm too strict? Because in my view, I'm following the rules.
Exactly.
I'm staying within the limitations that the law gave me. I am insisting that things be done properly and not in a haphazard way. But some people have a desire to have things done in a haphazard way for their own personal benefit.
Right.
You understand? And that's where they run into a wall when it comes to me. So from that point of view, everybody will tell you in there, Gibson, you better come straight, otherwise you will meet a wall. And yes, from that point of view, I've brought a fresh view to governance on St. Martin.
I know we are running out of time, but I need to get some more questions in. Besides having a balanced budget and also the law school that we just spoke about, what would you say would be some of the accomplishments that you've had since you've been in office as Minister of Finance?
Well, most people see and hear the budget, but there's a lot of things. I mean, I just mentioned there's some legislation that I forwarded to change the fact that through a misstep last year, the previous government passed a law that requires all foundations to file for taxes.
Yes.
And it's absurd. I gotta admit, and I do that here quite openly, that this was brought to my attention by members of parliament.
Okay.
They talked about it, but I picked it up because I saw how important, and I got it done.
Right.
And got it done in such a way now that only foundations and trust companies and associations that operate a business would have to file taxes for that business. But if they do not operate a business, then they will not be required to file taxes for profit taxes. That's one. I could mention that we also have filed legislation to change the expenses that NGOs have, foundations and associations who we give subsidies to. The way it was in the previous government was that if you get subsidies of 25,000 guilders or more, you have to present an audited financial statement justifying the subsidy you received. To get an audited financial statement from an accountant, it costs you 5,000 to 6,000 guilders.
Yes.
So now if you get a 25,000 guilders subsidy and then you have to go buy 6,000 guilders out of 25, I mean, it's cutting into,
The
it's
subsidy.
defeating the purpose of having you there as an NGO. An NGO does, important work, social work in the community. You would want them to spend that 6,000 guilders back into the activities they're doing, as
yes.
opposed to carrying into the account. And so what we did was we changed the law and says, look, only if you get 250,000 guilders and above, you need to come with a financial audited statement. Anything under that, the Department of Finance, because you still got to give accounting of the monies that you receive, the Department of Finance will peruse your financial statements, your accounting of the monies you receive, and you will not have to pay for that. So you could use that money that you normally would pay an accountant according to the previous law. You can use that and put it back in the activities you're doing for the community.
Mr. Gibson, the man who delivers, what would you like to see for St. Martin and its people, let's say in the next 4 years?
One, surpluses on its budget, so savings. Yeah, I would like to see a higher income for the lower levels. I toyed with the idea of saying let's do increase minimum wage and what have you, but that could be counterproductive, because you increase the minimum wage, then what all of the businesses will do is increase their products,
Yes.
and that would, the increase that you get now is going to be used up in paying for higher prices.
Spiral
That's not the way. But the
Yeah.
quality of life of people we have to improve. So a way has to be found to do that, and there are ways. In addition, I would like to see education. Education across the board. We are not taking sufficient advantage of the opportunities that we have. For instance, you go to Aruba, the per capita return that Aruba gets on each tourist is a multiple of what we get. Now why? It's the same tourists.
Yeah.
But Aruba have, when the tourists come, they don't only sell them a hotel room or rent them a car or sell them their meals. They also have tours. They have a multi-month of tours that each one of those tourists takes a tour. That's more money staying back in Aruba,
Yes.
because we need to develop more of that here. And we need to get people to what they call get more yield from the tourist business we have here. To get more by presenting more services. Give an example. A teacup. Everybody likes a mug. Even New York, you go, there are mugs there, so with New York or what have you.
Promoting whatever
Why?
city.
People want to buy a mug just to tell some other people when they go back home, oh, here's a
I've
gift
been
from you
there.
from you.
Yeah.
Here, we don't have that being done with St. Martin in it. We have them doing it in Haiti or someplace else. Well, what about older people here who sitting home, pensioners who need some extra money? You can create situations
Create jobs, yeah.
where they could be kept busy, doing something useful, getting income, enhancing their income by creating handicrafts or art pieces that you sell to the tourists. Aruba does that too. Okay? So we have to beautify the island. I said to you, tourism is the only product we
That
got.
we have, yes.
Right? We don't have oil, or we don't have platinum, and we don't have copper. We have tourism. And tourism is a area where there is tremendous amount of competition around us.
All right.
If that's the case, because we were first in the business around here, I mean, there was a time when Anguilla didn't have tourism, St. Kitts didn't have tourism, Aruba didn't have tourism, they were in oil, Curacao. Now all of these countries,
They're tapping into it.
so they're tapping into the tourism business. Now for you to survive in that business, you have to be better at it than they are. You have to offer a better product. If you offer the same product, then there you have no competitive edge.
Right, yes.
You have to be better. So the quality of service have to improve. The quality of the environment have to improve. I keep saying it, I will continue saying it. Whenever it rains, take a little drive between Tropicana Casino all the way down to Windward Island Bank at the beginning of the airport, and look at both sides of the road as you do, and tell me if people can walk there and avoid the water. And then this is a road. You leave the airport as a tourist, is the first thing you see. If you're really a tourist island and you really care about tourism and you really want to offer quality, the least you gotta do is make sure that tourists can walk on that strip. There are a lot of restaurants there in the evening, comfortably have a stroll, as opposed to dodging water puddles or even running the risk that they're going to injure their ankles by twisting it in the potholes they have on both sides of the road. Is this really, in this 21st century, in 2016, really a tourist product we should give them to the tourists? Or if you really care and want to be best at what you're doing, shouldn't there be pedestrians walking both sides, landscaped, no, so people can walk comfortable? This, I think, is something that we need to pursue throughout the island, and not only there. Landscaping, because you want, when tourists walk around here, say, listen, this is a beautiful island, which it is, and it's also well managed. Not that you send a signal, you don't care, because right now, that's the signal that is being sent.
Well, with a Minister of Finance like you are, we have a balanced budget, and hopefully we're going to have the 2017 budget approved. And we would be able to accomplish a lot of these things that you're talking about. We can get some beautification going, building of more roads, you know, fixing the roads and making sure the trenches are all clean at all times, because you hear daily that the government doesn't have any money. The government doesn't have any money. For the 2017 budget, would all ministries be able to get more money into their coffers, or no, it's going to be basically the same as 2016, 2017?
That's the point of departure. You see, if the world economy, the global economy is on a declining trend, that affects also our tourist trade. Income this year has also been in decline.
Okay.
And you can only share amongst your ministries what you reasonably project that you will be receiving the next year. So it's not a matter of you getting the same as last year or not. The question is, because you do not dictate the world economy. You do not dictate what happens around you. Things happen, and you know, the sneeze today they sneeze in China, and you catch a cold.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So what has to happen is you have to think of ways and means of generating new income.
All right.
And when you generate the income, then you can go and have a budget amendment and change it and increase the amount that you have to spend. But right now, given what's going on, I mean, let's take the United States of America. We started this year with a 3.5% projected growth in GDP. They looked at it, and afterwards said, well, you know, nah, it's probably going to be 2.5%.
Yeah.
That's about the middle of the year. Well, now they're saying, nah, it's going to be 1.5 or 1%. It's scary what's going on out there, you know, and that's going to be my topic on September 1st on University, Inequality and Demand, as to what is causing this phenomena and what are we going to do about it. That's the key. Because if you just sit back and wait and think that things will continue the way they used to go in the past,
right,
you're badly mistaken and you're in for some very cold showers.
And as the saying goes, you must save for rainy days also.
Right.
Mr. Gibson, it was a shocker to me, and I'm sure a lot of people, that you have postulated yourself on the National Alliance slate. I mean, I would not ask why, because yes, you've been minister since last year, I should say, late last year. How is it going for you? How are you preparing for campaigning for the September 26th elections?
Well, I am. I'm talking to you in this program. So
Besides talking to me in the hot seat, what are some of the plans that
Yeah.
how you plan to go about campaigning?
Well, the basic campaign approaches I'm going to do just like anybody else. You're going to have your posters up. You're going to have bumper stickers and what have you. You're going to go and talk to people house to house
Okay.
to convince them to vote for you. But I think my biggest strength is going to be sort of disseminating the things that I've accomplished in this short period of time.
Right.
The number of things, and of course my past and the vision that I have. Those are my strengths, and I will say to people this, every election there is a lot of people who do not vote. And I can sympathize with them because they believe, yeah, it's going to be the same thing all over again. I think this time it's a little different. And it's in their hands, those who didn't vote. Because now they cannot say, given what we have done these last 9 months, that we're not making a difference and that we're going to stay home again, because now if you stay home, then you are the ones who want to perpetuate what went on in the past, and I'm saying we can't go back. This is your chance to make things different for the future and get up and go out and vote on September 26th to make a difference, because given what we have done, we can make the difference and everybody can benefit from it.
Tell the people again what number you are and who you would like them to support.
My name is Richard Gibson, and I'm number 8 on the Alliance list, and I would like you to support the Alliance slate, but in particular, cast your vote on Richard Gibson, number 8, to keep him and his machinery going forward in making a difference for St. Martin.
Well, Mr. Gibson, I'd like to have you back in the hot seat. The seat was getting a bit hot, with all the topics that we discussed, but I'd like to have you back because your portfolio is really extensive, and you need to disseminate information to the general public so that they can be more aware of what's happening in terms of finance. So it was a pleasure interviewing you, and all the best.
Pleasure's all mine, and anytime I'll be back. Whenever you just ring the bell, I'll be here.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
People, you've been looking at In the Hot Seat, another program for the National Alliance. You can join us again next time when we'll be talking to another candidate. I'm Joanne Lewis, and have a good one. Bye.